What's up, Sonic fans, and welcome to the sixth inaugural episode of the Sonic Movie Show, the only show that's going to watch more things not Sonic related than the actual Sonic properties themselves. My name is Ethan, and with me here is my best friend, Devin.
Yeah, this is happening.
What's that supposed to be from?
That's Sonic in Sonic Adventure.
Nice.
If you can find
Okay.
that, please send me the clip because I don't know the context, but it's happening.
You never even played that one.
Nope.
Yeah. Anyway, this episode of the Sonic Movie Show is going to be a little bit different. I don't know if you guys caught last week's episode. We gave you some homework, or at least gave ourselves some homework. We decided to watch a movie that's not Sonic, but it's related to the Sonic movie in the sense that the director of the Sonic movie is very much involved with the movie we're about to talk about called Where the Wild Things Are.
Yes, he worked on. So IMDb lists him as visual effects, but then also lists him as animation research and development. And that's at least what it says in the credits. But then on IMDb, it does list him as just visual effects. So he was involved in some way with the animation of the monsters, and I'm sure there may be some other stuff, but I think it's important that we look at this because this is a full-length film. He did a lot of shorts, like Go for Broke, but which is another animated movie. But I think it's important because, he's the director of Sonic, and Sonic is animated, so that's why we're
And
looking at it.
especially if you haven't seen this movie, it might give you a good indicator about like how is Sonic in motion going to look. Obviously, the redesign is the redesign, but even then, he's still probably going to be furry.
Yeah,
How is he going to look in motion? And I think this movie was going to give us a good glimpse into that.
and both of us haven't seen it.
No, well, I've never seen it. I had the book as a kid, so I knew what it was.
Do you remember how like anything about the book? Because like when I started watching this, I'm like, so
Did
what?
you have the book?
I read the book. I remember reading it.
Okay.
Basically,
So
he runs away from home, right, or something, and then the
So
monsters.
my recollection from the book, at least is from what I remember, is he's such a brat. He's just an awful little kid. He's a wild thing. He's a monster. He runs away from home, and he finds all these other monsters. And basically, from what I remember, the message was from the book, like, sure, you want to be this way, fine. You want to be just like no one is forcing you. Sorry, that was my phone. To be a great person. You want to be a terrible person, that's okay. And you want to live with other terrible people, cool. There's always going to be people worse than you. And if you don't give anyone any kindness, why are you going to get any back? From what I remember, the book ends with all of them trying to eat him, and he just runs back home. That's
Yeah,
how I remember it ending. I could be wrong here.
that's what I'm remembering too. I remember them being more evil in the book, like they're actually
Yeah.
like trying to eat him. But yes, I had like I,
Because this
I
movie
don't have the
seemed to
book
take it more of just
around,
like,
so I didn't read the
hey,
book before I watched the
no, me
movie.
neither.
But
Oh, I'm
okay,
sure it's only like 10 pages. You
that makes more
probably could
sense
have just
though.
found it on Google
That makes more
Images.
sense though because I was like, is that how it happens in the book? Like halfway through the film, like I mean, I know they like stretched it out obviously for
Yeah.
an
How
hour and
long was the
41
how
hour
long?
and 41 minutes.
Yeah. I
So
mean, yeah, they definitely, I think they did a much smarter approach instead of just being like, hey, if you're going to be, a bratty little child, you're going to be treated like a bratty little child from people that don't care about you. But instead, this movie took it more of like, hey, like, feelings and emotions and a kid
mm,
not understanding that, hey, like, if I'm mean to people, they aren't going to want to be friends with me or play with me. Like,
exactly. So do you want
uh,
to just well, we don't want to
I
turn
have,
into the
okay, so I
Detective
have,
Pikachu episode that we did. We want to
no,
just do general thoughts first, and then we'll talk about more about the design and stuff like that. But I'm just
I only have
curious.
four notes.
Okay.
Only have four notes. So why don't I just hop through them real quick and then I'll let you
All right.
take the reins, all right?
Sure.
First off, this kid sucks, and I'm sorry. This kid's
No,
terrible.
no, I did write that too. I'm like, well,
There are
just
brief moments where I'm like, oh, like, but like this whole time, like I still don't even like them at the end of the movie.
yeah,
Like
because
I don't
I literally
actually
have a
think he
note.
learned anything.
I have a note that just says the first scene is scary AF, where he's just attacking his dog, and the dog doesn't look
Right?
comfortable. I'm like, dude, what are you
No,
doing?
no.
What are you
That's
doing?
how you get a dog that doesn't trust you. I had actually that, by the way, that opening, it's like this like calming music while the things pop up, and I thought like the movie skipped ahead because all of a
Oh,
sudden he's jumping down this. I had to rewind. I did it twice. I rewound it twice to be like, all right, no, okay, I guess it was intentional. But no, this kid sucks. He's irredeemable. I understand that
and
he's
the
a child.
kids, those like kids who like I thought were gonna be like the bullies or something, turned into being just like he started it, and then
They were
like
just normal kids.
and they were like, oh hey, and then like the one kid felt bad, but he's like, you ruined my
Like they're
igloo.
probably what 12,
Yeah, and
and
he's
he's
like
7 or
yeah,
something, right?
like those kids honestly weren't that bad as I thought they were. So I'm
No,
like,
I mean yes, and they kids make dumb decisions. Like when he jumped on the igloo, knowing the kid was in there and crushed him. Like everyone makes dumb decisions as a kid, but like at the end of the day, if there is an antagonist, it's himself.
oh, I just thought of something. Him, that kid jumping on him, he doesn't like it. He Oh, the monsters jump on each other, and there's one point where the other monster doesn't like it, and he's like, "Oh, we're just playing."
Yeah.
Ironic.
Well, that's what
I
again.
found
Like
the irony.
obviously, it just he didn't really go to a place with all those monsters. He didn't really. I'm sure
Are you
just
sure?
like how he gave up. He made that story about the vampire biting a building, whatever. Like in a matter of seconds, he probably sat amongst some trees for an hour and just wrote like made that all up in his head and then rode home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
Can we?
so obviously, a
Yeah.
lot of what he experienced in the beginning of the movie is just coming out. Obviously, there are brief moments where the monsters are way more mature than they were before. Like when the bird one is all of a sudden like, no, I was just going along with this because I thought I would make you happy. Like I know he's not a king. He's a kid in a pair of pajamas wearing a crown. You know what I mean? There are brief moments where they go in and out of like, this is
Yeah.
what a kid when they look at an adult, like the adult can have fun and play with them, but all of a sudden, it's time to really lay down, some maturity. But I just want to go back to how much this kid sucks, and it reminded me a thing I haven't experienced in years. It reminded me of feelings I have. I absolutely hate bratty children, and this is probably why I'll never be an actual father. I can't stand disobedient children. I like it's one thing. I don't even know where I'm going with this. I just hate this kid a lot with a burning passion. I can't stand him.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
he sucks. He really does. Like he's also just like I'm all for like imagination and stuff like that. Like I was a very imaginative kid, but like I
it's all
never.
selfish imagination.
Yeah, but then he turns it into like another level where it's just like this kid I think has anger issues.
Yeah,
Like, and I understand like they like showed it briefly that like oh he doesn't have a father in his life or whatever.
yeah,
Because let's quickly talk about Mark fucking Ruffalo. I did not.
yeah.
I was like, is that Mark? I'm sitting there. I'm like,
It
is
was
that Mark?
probably one of these situations where like he had a good enough attachment to the book. Maybe I don't know if he has kids or whatever. You know what I mean? He's like, I
He
want
has
to be in
one
this for a
line.
brief.
He has one
Yeah,
line where it's like he
it's
shouldn't
like
do that. You can't do
Yeah,
that. You can't let him do that or whatever. I'm like, he got paid probably like $1 million just to
I mean,
say.
he was much higher up on the credits list than the people voicing any of the
Yeah, he had
monsters.
one line.
Uh, Forrest Whitaker was one of them. He
Yep.
was in Star Wars Rogue One. He
Yeah.
was
So
the
here's my
guy.
theory with
But
Mark Ruffalo. Can't we argue that potentially this film is in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? This could be the Hulk trying to get in the dating life, and he's just trying to keep calm, and then he finds this kid getting on a temper tantrum. He's like, oh shit, I need to get out of this relationship.
this is reminding me too much of my own past.
So you could argue that it's in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I thought that was what I was thinking about the entire movie after I saw Mark.
Really?
I was just like, could this honestly be like you could argue it. You could because
My whole time watching
Mark is
this,
only in it for one scene, then we don't see him again. So did he?
yeah, no.
He left. He's
Uh,
like, I'm gonna turn into Hulk if I stay here any longer.
it's funny you say that you were thinking about that the whole time. The whole time I was watching this movie, I'm like, oh, these are just puppets. These are just people in suits. This
Yep.
episode that we're about to record is going to be really like boring because they're not CG for the most part.
Yeah, that's
Let's
why.
get
I mean, that's I guess what we were
for the
talking
most
about is
part.
the animation was. It's definitely
It's
people's
facial.
suits, and then there's facial animation. Maybe
There
there's
might be some CG in
when
like
they're
the motion
jumping.
of the fur. There are moments where I'm like, this fur seems way too sharp. The contrast around it seems like it doesn't feel like they actually shot it with a camera. Like some of it feels like it might have been assisted in post
I will
to make
say,
it feel more furry,
overall though, I thought the CGI was pretty good for 2009. Like, it
right?
honestly looks much better than some movies I've seen this year in terms of CGI. Like, I mean, granted they didn't use, you know, like you said, it was a CGI mostly with the face, and maybe there's points where they were jumping and stuff. I don't know how much of that was stunts or a mix of
I
stunts
think
and
that's honestly
CGI.
pretty easy to just in post. He jumps now, just make him soar higher. But
Yeah,
well, I think it's funny. I have a theory about CG in that like if it's modern day film,
yeah,
or that was a weird way of putting it. Film comes out today.
hmm
We scrutinize the CG a lot because we expect it to be like amazing. You watch an older film, uh, the CG is not going to be as good, but you're not going to expect it to be as good as it is. Like I watched recently all of the Harry Potter films. Those first two movies, the CG was way better than I thought. That little elf boy in the second movie, he looks as good as like any other kind
you
of
mean
CG stuff
Dobby?
coming out today. Yes, Dobby. I don't want to give him a name. That only gives him power. Uh, um, so I think the same thing, definitely the same thing happened with me in this film.
uh,
I'm like, it's a lot of it's subtle, just like lip movements, eye movements. Like, I
yeah.
don't think it was classic puppetry in that there was an actual
I
eyelid
know
operation.
the owl boys there were um, puppets for sure
Oh, they had to be, yeah.
because they were like their eyes were moving like it reminded me a lot of uh, when I was watching this. It reminded me of a mix between I haven't seen the movie in full, but Neverending Story and Dark Crystal, but also a little bit of Monsters Inc. But I think it's only because they're monsters. Like Carol, the main monster, is basically a fatter Sully.
Well,
He has the
yeah,
horns
they were
on
all
top.
drawn that way in the book,
Yeah,
but
but he is basically like in terms of the animation. I'm like, this looks like Sully because he had bigger eyebrows to show feelings better, like or show
mm,
expressions and feelings. And then I mean, then his nose didn't. All of them had really big noses. I noticed, except for maybe the bird because it's just a beak. But
right.
then I would say the mouth on all the characters. I feel like was pretty important to like
And there are definitely
them showing
rare
emotions.
occasions of facial movement where like they look to the side or they contort their face in a way that I'm like, this is definitely CG. There's no way this giant stiff mascot
Yeah,
head
because
puppet was able to do this
maybe
practically at all.
because if you did do without CGI, it'd probably be very like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the was it late '90s there, early 2000s. Because then there's no CGI used in that, and like you could tell if their faces
Oh,
were like,
those were 80s, my friend.
oh
Those are either
shit, Jesus.
late 80s or early 90s. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles
Well, Secret of the
really kicked off
Ooze.
in 1989.
I'm talking about Secret of the Ooze, TMNT, uh, where like you could like their eyelids wouldn't move or their mouth would
Yeah,
move, and that was all like separate components in the puppet itself, or like someone was controlling that offset while the
yeah,
person was sitting in it. So like they could have went that route, but I actually think if this movie came out today, I would say the CGI passes. I think it's really good, personally.
sure. Oh, they're selling one of those giant turtle puppets on eBay, by the way.
Oh
So they're
really?
auctioning off somewhere, yeah. When it's all like it's rotting,
Ugh,
like it's just
I
all
bet.
moldy and rotting. His jaw's almost falling off. But yeah, no, I think the CGI passes for the
I
most
will
part.
say
Obviously, it was way more practical than I expected going in.
I will say
Uh,
the same. Yeah, I thought for sure it was gonna be all CGI, but then once I saw them, like, okay, I can see
and I
why
don't know.
they went with this direction. I actually like that they did physical mixed with CGI.
Yeah.
It gives
Well,
it
I think it
aesthetic
helps.
for sure.
It's a lot more of a Wes Anderson style movie than I thought it was gonna be. Um, no, the whole thing is a very like dream-like,
Yeah.
experience. Like again, like did that kid ever eat? No, he didn't eat anything because it was probably an hour in real life, and then he went home.
Yeah.
And so having these they kind of move like people, you know what I mean, but they're all like not.
See, I'm
And
curious if they did. They probably didn't. I was gonna say motion tracking for faces, or do you think that they recorded it and then edited their faces
I
to
wouldn't be
talk.
surprised if in post they just put the animation on. Like they know
Yeah.
storyboard wise, like, when you stand here and you do this, this is what it's going to look like. So just, and it's not like I was looking on because I watch it on Amazon. And
Yeah, I
they do
did
that
too.
X-ray thing where they show like all the actors and all that people. Like the people in the suits are not the actual voices,
Yeah.
obviously. So like it's not like it might be a Darth Vader situation where the guy in the Darth Vader suit said the lines out loud so that
It
the
was
other
easier
cast
to, yeah.
members could respond, and the timings and all that. But when, 9 out of the 10 characters on screen are all in the suits, maybe, I don't know, maybe they just had the director or someone just shout the lines out and then the kid says his stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
It could be something like that.
Yeah, for sure. But I was thinking, uh, to me, well, going back to like this, the animation itself, what do you think? Because I was saying like the eyebrows and the mouth are really important, but what do you think to you is the most important part of like their face? I think it goes back to their face, like because I think for
It's always
Sonic, because
eyes.
Sonic's design, the most our biggest criticism has always been his
All of
face, like
it.
all
But
of it,
yeah.
but mostly his face.
Yeah.
What like to me, I think this movie is good in the sense of its character design and stuff. So to you, what is the most important part of their face, I guess, or the
The eyes are where all the emotion comes from in anything, even real life.
yeah, I was gonna say I agree, and I
So
would say that I noticed that all the eyes are like there's they're more human than they are animal, especially for Carol and what was the other one? K
KW.
KW. But then like the bird one would be more bird like. So I found that interesting that like the ones who are like the main
Well,
human-y
yeah, like,
characters are the ones that have more of the human eyes.
yeah. I mean, Carol is supposed to be him, and
Yeah.
KW is supposed to be his sister or his mom. I can't really
Yeah,
tell
that was a
who.
little confusing. I thought for
Um,
sure it was gonna be his sister.
because which is he? Which does he feel more disconnected from? His sister, which he kept trying to play with in the beginning, or his mom, which he like basically like ran away from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but
And the other
and
ones I
everyone
don't really
else is
remember.
just
Yeah, I feel like they look cool, but they weren't like as I don't know, humanized, I guess. And that goes back to Sonic, where I feel like they were trying to humanize him too much to where it wasn't even Sonic anymore, and then it just looks weird. Where this, I feel like they did a good job being like, he's a monster, but still has human emotions, or feels like when you're talking to him that he could be almost human. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But I think the eyes, that was one thing that caught me, was the eyes, the eyebrows, and the mouth. I think they just did a good job overall about,
Yeah.
and I'm like, why
Uh,
didn't, so Jeff Fowler, he did this, but then went with the Sonic design that we saw. That just puzzles me so much. I'm like, clearly how to make a good or be part of. I don't like we said we don't know how much he did for this. We just know that he was in the animation, so he could have easily been just he worked on stuff. He was told what to do, or he had more of a leadership role. We don't really know.
mhm.
But it
And
just puzzles
regardless,
me
the
that like
Sonic movie is definitely his biggest
he went
involvement.
from this to this. And then I was looking at pictures of Go for Broke, and Go for Broke was super cartoony,
Hmm.
where the mouth was big and goofy, and the
To be
eyes
quite
were
frank,
cartoony and stuff. I don't know. It's just puzzling to me.
I think honestly, it boils down to executives up top saying, "No, this is what we think people want, so do
You
this."
think? You think that?
Yeah, the people with the checkbooks are the ones that ultimately decide how you're going to spend their money. So who knows? Maybe he was like, no, I actually like this design idea. Perhaps it was they floated a bunch of designs around. That one was chosen, and he had to learn to love it. And thankfully, there was enough of I don't want to call it backlash because angry mob and all, but there was enough of an outcry that he gave him an excuse to be like, all right, we're going to do it now. We're going to redo it. You're going to doom this
That
movie
could
if
be
you
it.
let this to happen. That's what I would like to hope. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's so many we have so many questions that they just aren't or probably will never be made public unless they did like a behind the scenes about
The only
with
way
Sonic.
that will happen is the movie has to do extremely well or extremely poorly that they can treat it like a joke. Like how Sega treats Sonic 2006, that game, as a joke.
Yeah.
They talk about it like it's like the worst thing ever because it kind of is. Like You either have to be the greatest thing to get the super insight, look at how proud we are of all the things we did, or so bad and so terrible that you can be like, yeah, we look at all this garbage that we did, just to kind of
Yeah.
distance yourself from how terrible the thing you made was.
And what I find kind of switching tangents, but not really, I guess. But so Where the Wild Things Are was marketed as a kids film. It's literally on IMDb listed as adventure, drama, family.
Yeah.
Bryn told me, my girlfriend Bryn, told me that she went to the theater with her brother at the time, and she had to take him out of the theater because he was so upset by how the monsters look, how scary they were.
Yeah.
So,
and how old was he at the time? Man, this is 10 years ago. This movie's retro.
It's 8.
Yeah.
So like, and
this boils.
I don't know. It's
Sorry,
just,
go on.
I was gonna say that like, it's weird that like they're like, this is a kids movie, but yet they made choices that are very, I don't know, very specific.
Yeah, this boils down to something I always like to say, to no one in particular, but just to say it. Children don't learn lessons as much as writers think that they do
from movies.
A kid is not watching this movie, and obviously this movie, it feels a bit more abstract, but like kids, a child watching this movie isn't going to learn any lessons about group behavior, respecting others, anything like that. Like they're not even think they're watching this movie and thinking this kid learned anything. They just, stuff happened and he went home. I like the way entertainment happens these days is so quick.
Yeah.
Children, anyone, people, we have access to so many things so instantaneously. It's just give me the hits back to back to back. I want the funnies. Even kids' cartoons are just like, I want the funnies. Give me the funnies. I want to move on. Kids all watch shows.
Maybe
like
if you're like 14
and
and you watch this, you'd be like, okay, I gotta be nicer to my mom. But if you're 6, 7 years old, you're, like you said, you're not gonna be paying attention to the plot as much, or if you are, you're not gonna catch on the little like details of like.
It reminds me of
everyone's jumping on each other. Oh, he also got jumped on. Like I didn't notice that until we just talked about it.
They had to really show the visual connection of him staring out the tunnel is the same as when he was in the igloo, looking out the tunnel, watching the kid run and about to jump. That if you didn't catch that visual similarity, you probably wouldn't have gotten it. But no, this movie reminds me a lot about, even though it's been kind of turned into like a giant merchandising machine, this movie reminds me a lot about Despicable Me, in that it's a kids movie, but at the end of the day, it's a movie about parenting. It's a movie that parents would appreciate way more than their kids do. I definitely know parents that watch Despicable Me and be like, yeah, like this is a movie that parents should watch. And I think this movie, Where the Wild Things Are, is very similar.
Or as the fans like to call it, WTWTA.
Yeah, when you texted me that, I thought it was like some like I thought they were shortening like the DNC debates or something like that even further. I'm like, I have no idea. I'm just gonna pretend I know what he meant.
WTWTA.
But yeah, I definitely think that parents would appreciate watching WTWA.
You messed it up.
Whatever. Sonic. Let the parents watch Sonic.
Well, that's what it goes back to, is like, to me, I compare this movie more to what's it called? Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas, where like it's such a niche. To me, it's like a niche audience within a kid's audience. It's weird. Where like, if you're into like Halloween as a kid, you might like it more, but if you're not, you're gonna be scared.
Right.
This movie is scary if you're not. The first scene, I said it was scary as hell, and I'm 24 years old.
Like, there is a moment when he first sees them all, and Carol is like breaking their homes, and it's weird. Like again, it's delving into the psychology of what this kid's thinking of, like what is acceptable and what is it. Do people like this? Do people not like? Like none of them are actually being like, stop! What are you doing to him as he's breaking their homes? They're all just like, I know, I don't want to help you do this.
Yeah.
Or blah blah blah. And it isn't until when he actually starts breaking one of their homes, dude, they go like, "What are you doing? What makes you think you can do this?" Like, and it, they're, I don't want to call it bipolar, but there is definitely a whiplash effect with like expectations that this kid is going through, which I definitely think that children could see. But for the most part, I definitely don't think kids would understand anything in this film. It was just a trip, a
Yeah,
dream-like
yeah,
trip that
and
they
that's
went
what I
on.
actually like about it. I do like how like weird it is and how it just kind of sticks to being weird. It doesn't try to be something that it's not. I will say I like the movie generally, and
I
it is
didn't.
freaking weird. It's weird, but I also do like you know the Dark Crystal and like all those weird
So I
puppet
will say that
movies.
I remember. So I watched because you mentioned Neverending Story before. I did watch that as a kid, and I liked it. The horse died in that film, uh, and I love that because I hate horses. And I started watching Dark Crystal, and I could not.
It's
I could
you.
just. I
You either
hated
like
the
it.
puppet
It's
designs,
like
and I was a child, so like I probably wasn't
I
giving it
had
a
it
fair
on.
shake.
I had it in a. I had it on DVD. I still have it on DVD. I haven't watched the
Now
newer
there's that
one yet.
Netflix show.
I still haven't
Maybe
watched it.
maybe I'll go back one time and
It's
watch it. But
but it is specific. Like I feel like you're either gonna like it or you don't. And I feel like for this movie, as a kid, you're either gonna think it's cool
well, I mean,
or you're
because
gonna
I
think it's
remember being like, I
scary.
like the Muppets a lot.
See, I wasn't a big fan of the
I like
Muppets.
Mister Rogers. I liked. I even then I could appreciate the Muppets a lot. Obviously, way more as an adult now. So I thought I would like Dark Crystal, but no.
See, I
Um,
was the opposite of you. Like I didn't really like the Muppets as much as a kid. I thought those were weirder than the fucking Dark Crystal and uh, uh, Nightmare Before
but they meet
Christmas.
Luke
All that kind of
Skywalker.
yeah. Like I liked all of
uh,
Tim Burton's animation stuff as a kid. But anyways,
oh, see, I hated
see,
Tim Burton.
but that makes
Thought
a
it was
good
the
point. Is that
cringiest
like
stuff possible.
that these movies, these animations, when they're more specific like this, you're kind of playing with the idea of okay, I know some people are gonna like this, and some people won't. When Sonic is more of a general, everyone should like Sonic in terms of his design, and I think. Like I'm sure, like we talked about before, that someone out there probably did like Sonic's movie design,
Hmm.
and maybe that's what they were
Legitimately,
thinking.
not ironically, not being like upset that they're changing it because they wanted to see a garbage fire. I do agree. There are definitely some people out there that actually liked the design and wanted
I
to see
saw
that
people on my
movie.
Facebook being like, "Oh, this movie looks good," and they were sharing the Sonic trailer, legitimately, unironically, just being like, "This looks good." And so I was like, "Okay, so there are people out there, and maybe that's what they were thinking." It was like, and maybe that's what Jeff Fowler was thinking. Was like, "Hey, where the wild things are." I know not everyone liked it, but some people really did like it and thought it was really cool.
See,
And maybe
I
they went with
think
that direction. They're like, "Yeah, this doesn't look truly like Sonic, but we're trying to make Sonic look this way because of." We're trying to make it more human. Maybe that we think that that'd be cooler. And then obviously the backlash was what it was, and they're like, okay,
yeah.
maybe we shouldn't have gone this direction.
I wonder though how much. I don't think that the movie we saw, WT whatever, has really any relation to the Sonic movie, even in terms of like his own experiences, what he's dialing back to as he
Hmm.
uses as reference. I don't honestly. I think this movie really there's not much to
It's a
learn.
standalone sub objects
Well, I mean,
subject.
besides the fact that it is based off something that it was geared towards children, I
Well, I
guess.
mean,
But
but
like
Sonic is too. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. That's like besides that,
okay,
and the fact that they are furry,
yeah.
like I don't really think that there was many lessons that he could have applied to himself other than regular cinema type lessons to learn, like whatever stuff that's beyond me. But
Yeah.
I don't think having watched this movie, it has given me any more confidence or lack of confidence
So
in
it was
his
a neutral.
ability to make a Sonic movie.
So there,
So
if it was a stock market, after you watching that, it stayed the same. It didn't go
it
up or down.
stayed the same. It stayed the same. It did its normal up and back down, but it came right back to the middle, trends. Um, Again,
I
just
would
putting
agree
out
with
there,
that.
I want to point this out every single episode, in case because there's always going to be people hopping in for the first time. Still optimistic for the Sonic movie. You and I, we were both like, we think we are going to see this movie and we're going to find enjoyment of it. We don't know what he looks like now because they've changed it, but we're still going into the Sonic movie being like, I want to like this, and I think there is going to be something to like in it. So I just want to put that out there
Yeah.
again. So like, it always feels like we're hating on the Sonic movie because it's real easy to do. But yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know.
I'm gonna kind of disagree with you and say that I felt like after watching this movie, I'm like, if they can kind of go, I'm not saying they're gonna put some kid in a Sonic suit and then animate his face, but I don't know. I'm just like, if I know that, once again, we don't really know how much Jeff Fowler had an involvement in the final design or the animation itself. We just know that visual effects, or he was part of the development team.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, if he has the capability to learn from, like, okay, what we did in the world, where the wild things are in terms of the faces and showing emotions and feelings that way, I'm like, you can still do Sonic's closer to what Sonic's design is, but also still make it his face show what you want to show.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, how much of that is directly based off what he experienced and where the wild things are, or is it just animation 101?
I believe they can do it, is what I'm saying. But for all we know, though, they can just drop the new design tomorrow and it be worse.
If they drop, they gotta wait until at least like Thursday. We gotta have a week before we record the next one. I think, though, a lesson that could be learned in terms of visuals, in terms of animation, et cetera, which might not be the case. If the Sonic movie has more of Sonic's friends, then okay, how they interact with each other in a realistic setting, that is a lesson I guess you could learn from WTWTA. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
that could be one thing, I guess. But like, again, still, those were puppets. Those were people behaving like, they were using their own body to act, even if they were trying to act outlandish or cartoonish, which wasn't really the case. They were still people constrained by their own physical abilities and the giant costume that they were in. CG only assisted some of that. But even then, like, okay, let's say they drop Knuckles and Tails in there. Let's say they go in for a high five together or a big old group hug or some of that fan fiction stuff I don't want to look at. I guess there are some lessons maybe that he could, garner from his own work and apply to Sonic maybe. But I feel like I'm kind of reaching.
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying I can agree with you. I just think my stock market only went up by like +2. Like, it ain't much. It's a slight uptick, but not enough to be like sell.
It's the acknowledgement that it existed was enough to garner a little bit of interest.
Yeah, I'm saying like maybe 1 or 2%, if that.
I mean, 1 or 2. It depends how high was it to begin with, because 2% could be a lot.
That's true.
Yeah.
On a scale of like 100 to 0, like, to me, my optimism went up an additional 1 or 2. Like, it's not by much.
Well, all right. So, speaking about scales, 1 to 10, how was your enjoyment of this movie?
Enjoyment?
You don't bother rating the movie. It's not what this is about.
Enjoyment.
It's just enjoyment.
I'm gonna give it a 7.
Because you said you liked it.
7.
7?
And that's not a rating.
Mine was probably like 5 or 6.
If I gave it a rating, it'd be like a 6.
Yeah, I mean, again, like, when we go into
terms of just enjoyment, where I was like intrigued, I would say a 7.
When we go into like these kind of, again, this movie felt very Wes Anderson. It felt very like just abstract and weird and metaphorical in its visuals.
I thought like,
but it's one of those things where like when we judge a very subjective work, a work that's trying to be very like vague and suggestive, it's very hard to quantify a lot of things. So it's like there's a lot of moments where I'm like, was this, and not necessarily in this movie, but just in art in general, was this intentional? Was this abstract? Like, art is obviously meant to make you think something. How much of what I'm thinking while watching this movie was either intended or even just a tangential idea, or how much is it me just appreciating things either for what they are, which is good enough on its own, or is it some sort of wanting, like, it's really hard for me to rate this movie. Like, I don't know how I could rate this movie out of 10.
I think it's
that's why I was like, I enjoyed.
It's different.
A 6 out of 10 was my enjoyment. But like, I don't know, like I could very easily, if I were to rate this movie, give it either a 4 or an 8. Like, obviously not two extremes, but like they're definitely one side of the scale or the other. Like, I can either be like, this movie sucked. The kid doesn't look like he learned a lesson. None of the characters looked like a lesson. But on the other hand, it's like, well, he's a child. Do children actually learn these lessons when they experience these things? Does it have to be drilled down by an adult? Does it have to be this, they grow up and they look back on these experiences and then they realize that they kind of learned a lesson or whatever? Like, you could look at it either way.
Yeah.
So,
but I don't think we will. Maybe if we just run out of episode ideas, but Go for Broke is a short that he directed, Jeff Fowler.
We can add it to the watch along list.
But that was before Where the Wild Things Are. And what's funny is I'm looking at the Gopher right now, and it looks closer to Sonic, really? Sonic than Where the Wild Things Are. Monster looks to Sonic, which I find interesting.
Interesting.
So I feel like he has two different experiences. He has one making an animated short, like Ice Age-esque kind of style it looks like. And then you have CGI / animation added to a physical form,
which is what Sonic is. So yeah, I mean, experience is experience.
Well, I was saying more like for Carol, like as in terms of there's someone in a suit and then you add CGI to change it up. When Sonic is this straight. To me, it's closer to Ice Age than it is Where the Wild Things Are.
Ice Age wasn't DreamWorks, was it? That was like Sky Pictures or something.
I think so.
And they're not even the Minions guys. It's so weird. Yeah. They're neither of them are Sony, are they?
Sloth.
Oh,
that's all I remember.
Everybody loves Raymond, don't they?
Yes.
Do you have any final words you want to say about Queen Latifah was in that movie too? Anything else you want to say about Where the Wild Things Are? Any last minute thoughts?
Oh, I saw that. This isn't anything too crazy, but Tom Hanks was a producer.
Huh.
I saw that at the end, but it wasn't like in the beginning.
I don't know what to think about that though.
That's why I found that interesting. Then I saw names I didn't recognize.
Yeah.
So I was like Tom Hanks and everyone else.
I actually So one of my thinkings was I wonder how many. And this is something that honestly I should have looked up. I didn't look up any interviews or anything like that. But oftentimes in some of these, I don't want to call this an art house movie, and even then, just in a lot of movies where there is like a core theme or something, sometimes the studio tries to put out a casting call and find people that inhibit it a little bit. What I'm getting at is I wonder how, like, I could easily see, them being like, anyone that's a voice of any of these characters needs to be a parent in real life. Like, I want you like that. They could have done something like that. Like, I wonder, that was just my little last minute thought there. Because I could easily see like, there's the one where one of the female monsters that like keeps threatening to eat him. Oh, shit. Like, I just got like the impression that woman in real life was a parent, but I don't know.
I can see that. I mean, it would make sense in terms of like, except for maybe Carol, maybe, I don't know, but I feel like I can see them being like, okay, we're going to put all parents into this film because that's what the movie's really about, is there's parent versus kid kind of, I feel like, generally in this film, or kid, if anything, it's kid versus parent, I think, than parent versus kid.
But I think this is the classic Shakespearean man versus himself conflict.
But then if you go back to Sonic, in relation to that, Sonic isn't going to be like that. We have comedians.
No, it's man versus reality or whatever it is. It's in another dimension.
With like, imagine if they got Mark Ruffalo for Sonic, like just like more serious. I guess you can't say Mark Ruffalo because he's in Marvel movies that are generally funny. But if they got just like Sandra Bullock and put her in Sonic, like she just wouldn't fit. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying now.
So now I'm like thinking more like even more about this, Where the Wild Things Are in relation to this. It's like on a general level, not even about Jeff Fowler, but that's a whole other. You can compare any movie, like that. But
I'm sure we could do a full series about watching movies that could vaguely give us insight on the Sonic movie.
But I will say we could have watched like any other video game movie, and I feel like actually Where the Wild Things Are gave us a little bit more insight, just by a little bit. I feel like I don't know.
I don't think there's much lessons to learn from other video game movies because I don't think they learned them themselves.
Exactly.
But who knows? Anyway, in regards to what do we want to do for the rest of this episode? We got some time left.
We can pick our episodes for the Sonic cartoons.
That's right. So last week we put out the call. We said, all right, we're going to watch this Where the Wild Things Are movie is. And then after that episode, we're going to watch a whole bunch of Sonic cartoon episodes and discuss perhaps how the Sonic movie could learn from how Sonic treats himself. That's a weird way of putting it.
In the cartoons, but also how has Sonic maybe have changed throughout the cartoons? Was he different in the OGs versus the new Gs?
And so we compiled it. There are 5 different Sonic cartoons in history. And to my knowledge, he is voiced by a different person every single time. I know Jaleel White was like the OG voice of Sonic. Now it's a guy that used to voice Batman, but which is funny. So we compiled. We have 5 different shows, and you and I are each going to watch 3 episodes, and we're going to basically 5.
Doing 5.
Was it 5?
Yes.
Yes, that's right. I'm looking at my list here, and I see 5 in front of me. We're each going to watch 5 different episodes of various Sonic cartoons, and we are going to basically just talk about them next episode. So how did we split it up?
So I'm doing the first 3 Sonic cartoons. So Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic Underground.
That's right. And
those are all on Stars, which I have a subscription for because I let the free trial go too far after we watched Fast and Furious, Tokyo Drift. Yeah.
I guilted into using the trial so we could watch Tokyo Drift in HD, and then you forgot to cancel it. Yeah. So
luckily it was only like $8, but
yeah,
could be worse.
You're going to be watching what episodes? Why don't you say the episodes?
So I'm watching for Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. I'm watching episodes 8, 9, and 10, which are... So episode 8 is called... I picked them solely by their titles, by the way.
Same.
Episode 8 is Close Encounter of the Sonic Kind. And I'm like, haha.
God.
Haha. And then the second one is... episode 9. Not the second one, but the second one I chose. Is called Mama Robotnik's Birthday. And then episode 10 is called Big Daddy. And it references it.
Big Daddy?
Yes. And it says, Coconuts finds a lost baby gorilla who thinks that he's the father. So I don't know. I don't know what to expect there.
Okay.
And then, so those are my first 3. And those are episode 8, 9, and 10. So
of Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yes. Then I have Sonic the Hedgehog. And then from season 1... let's do Sonic and the Secret Scrolls, because it sounds like an Indiana Jones ripoff or something. Okay. I don't know. Or even a, what's his name there? Sherlock Holmes.
Okay. What episode was that?
That is episode 4, season 1, Sonic and the Secret Scrolls. And then for Sonic Underground, I am doing... Episode 20, 3 hedgehogs and a baby.
Okay, that's the one I do remember. I mentioned that to you off the air. 3 hedgehogs and a baby. All right. So those are your 5.
Those are my 5. So if you want to watch those.
From the first... Yeah, if you want to watch those, you can do it on Stars. So if you have Amazon...
I think Sonic Underground is one out of the 3 is on Amazon Prime or Netflix. I don't remember which, but I know for a fact all 3 of them are on Stars.
So it's a very easy way if you happen to have it.
Or I'm sure you could Google them.
Do a free trial. I'm sure, you can just Google these, and I'm sure there are ways you can find these in other places. But so those are all on Stars. So those are the first 3 of the 5 actual cartoon television shows.
Correct.
So you're doing the first 3. I'm doing the last 2 shows, Sonic X and Sonic Boom.
I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of jealous you're watching Sonic Boom.
In my notes, I accidentally wrote Soink X, but I guess, whatever.
Soink?
And so I'm doing 5 episodes, obviously. So from Sonic X doing season 1, episode 21. It's called Fast Friends.
Ooh,
I think he races someone in a race car.
Okay.
And then also from season 1 of Sonic X, which is episode 24, called How to Catch a Hedgehog. And it shows another thumbnail of a guy in a race car. So that's why I picked those.
So
I want to see.
Does Sonic race, what's his name?
Dale Earnhardt Jr.?
No, I was going to say, what's the guy? What's his name in Fast and Furious? What the hell?
Oh, Paul Walker? Dom?
Dom, yes.
There's a lot of guys in Fast and Furious.
Dom, I'm like, who is any of the characters' names in the
he
three
races
movies
Vin Diesel.
watched?
So yeah, season 1 of Sonic X, episodes 21 and 24. And then I'm doing Sonic Boom. And from Sonic Boom, yes, I know. I'm doing season 1, episode 12. And it's called Late Fees / Let's Play Musical Friends.
What?
It's a twofer.
Okay,
season 1, I guess, did the two 12-minute episodes. In a standard 30-minute animation block, you have two 12-minute episodes and 8 minutes of commercials interspliced.
Okay.
So this is like a 2-for-1. So that's season 1, episode 12. And then from season 2, I'm watching episode 16, 9 to 5 Knuckles, which makes me think that he's getting a job. And also from season 2 is episode 20 called Give Bees a Chance. I have no idea what that's about.
Give them a chance, man. All right.
So we're going to try to find from these 10 episodes of Sonic lore things we could relate, lessons we might be able to learn that the Sonic movie...
Any changes, or not changes, differences or similarities.
And how, like you said, Sonic has changed over time. Sonic, the movie, his design, his attitude, etc. And the Sonic movie is just the next step after Sonic Boom, in a way. I don't know if they're still making that show. I think they are. I don't think they ever ended it. But it's definitely the next Sonic animated thing. Mm-hmm. And so we have this whole lineage here. Let's see how he evolves over time. And I think it'll give us a much more of a fair shake when we go to actually review the Sonic movie.
Yeah.
To be like, this was
good, this was bad.
Just like whenever anyone's, reviewing a game or a movie that's a part of a series, you have to look at it as both a standalone thing and as a part of what came before. You can't just ignore what came before and show like how much has changed since, but you also can't rely on that completely. So by giving, these 5 different television cartoon shows their shot to show us, it might help us out. So that's homework we're giving ourselves. If you want to be a little bit informed when you watch or listen to rather next week's episode, why don't you give these a watch too? So I forgot to mention. So like we said, Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, and Sonic Underground are all on Stars. Sonic X and Sonic Boom, they're on Hulu. So Hulu, either version of Hulu. And even in Hulu, you can do a free trial of Stars. So if you wanted to knock all 10 episodes out, the easiest way would be basically try Hulu for free and then try Stars for free inside Hulu.
Hashtag ad.
Hashtag ad, and they're not giving us any money. No one is. So yeah, I don't know. Anything else that you want to say?
No, I think I'm good. I think we're good.
All right. So yeah, this has been this week's episode of the Sonic Movie Show. We're gonna try to do this as often as we can, hopefully once a week.
So far, so good. We're on 2-week streak.
Yes, I know. After next week's episode, we'll disappear for 3 months. But my name was Ethan. You can find me on Twitter at Ethan Absolutely. You can find Devin over there on Twitter at Cursona YouTube. That's correct, right? I think I ask you this every single time.
Yep, you got it.
Yeah. Sorry. And yeah, so we'll see you next week. And yeah.
Ha 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 ha.